God is able. The question is, do you know it? Do you know that you are able? Do you know that you will not fail? I mean, that preaches. We could all go home now, but no, thank you. Thank you for your patience. Okay, I'm just going to pick this up. Little things. Okay, Wicked Part 2 is out. Have you gone up to Sedona or over to Prescott? I looked and you have no movie theater here. It's true, but I mean, have you seen it? Yeah, the official title is Wicked for Good. And it got me to thinking, how often do you, do I take that moment to look back and see how we have changed for good? Some people have to look back 20 years. Some people aren't that old yet. But some of us can look back 20 years, or we can look back at last week, or we can even look back to this morning, because we're not the same person we were 20 years ago. We're not the same person we were last week. And thank goodness for the evolution, the continual evolution of change. Woo! I can look back and say, yes, I spent 2 winters in Connecticut. That is in the past. I can look back even a couple of weeks ago and say, yes, I had a really bad cold, but that is in the past. And that's a beautiful thing about the constant evolution of change, is that we can at any moment engage in the spiritual practice, the discipline of looking for the good. The practice of looking for the good, it's a tricky thing, because we're in the present moment, but we're looking back. When we look for the good, we look back. And it's very different from that nasty habit that some of us have, just saying, that some of us have of looking and dissecting the past from a woulda, coulda, shoulda perspective. When we look back with a practice and that discipline of looking for the good, we're looking for that blessing. How many of you remember that old-timey hymn, Count Your Blessings? Right? I thought it was a unity hymn. So yesterday I'm waltzing down the hall going, count your blessings, name them one by one. And my partner, who grew up Baptist, was like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's a unity song. And she said, no, it's not. But the practice is the same. I'm just saying. In 2021, Netflix aired a documentary entitled My Love, 6 Stories of True Love. And it really was a documentary, but they were tender portraits of 6 couples from different places in the world who shared their story about their enduring and their lasting love. Now, some moments of it were really not as fast as I wanted it to be, because, you know, it was a documentary. But other moments absolutely made me cry. And I don't remember much of the content, but my takeaway was this, was that in every one of those couples, in each one of those couples, there was a time in their day where they set aside a time for positive reflection. The couple from Vermont had a practice of cuddling up at night under all the covers, because it was Vermont, but and saying, we had a good day, didn't we? We had a good day. And I love this sentiment, because it completely captures that spiritual practice of looking at life with a grateful heart. A grateful heart is open and receptive, and it's in alignment with good. It allows us to know that there's good even when we can't see it. Gratitude opens our consciousness to good, even in the midst of a circumstance that doesn't look good at all. Gratitude opens up our mind and heart in alignment so that we're in that divine flow, and gratitude puts us in a place where we feel safe and secure to look in our rearview mirror. It gives us a whole different come from. Gratitude with an open heart. So, the oldest scripture in the New Testament was written by the Apostle Paul, and this is what the Apostle Paul wrote in Thessalonians. Give thanks in all circumstances, for this is the will of God in Jesus Christ for you. Now, if your religious trauma flag just went off, take a breath. Take a breath, because we can look at this from a unity perspective. God in unity is not, in unity, we do not have an anthropomorphic God, right? God is not a person. God is not an entity. God is love, and love is that energy that emanates from the heart that wants nothing but the best for the object of its affection. So when we immerse ourselves in gratitude, all we can see, well, maybe not all, but more of what we can see is gratitude. Now, about 1,000 years before the Apostle Paul wrote this, a Hebrew writer that could have been King David or could have been Moses, and it doesn't really matter who wrote it, wrote this psalm. Enter his gates with thanksgiving and his courts with praise. And that's from Psalm 100. Now, maybe you know or maybe you don't know this about me, but I like to look at scripture in different versions. So this is the approved Unity version, New Standard Revised. But when you look at the message, it gets really fun. Enter with the password, thank you. Make yourselves at home. All along, we knew, or we've known for thousands of years, that the super secret password is thank you. Right? This is true in many cultures and in many religions. If you think about Alibaba and the 40 Thieves, there was a super secret password to get into the Cave of Treasures. Who wants to be in the Cave of Treasures? We all want to be in the Cave of Treasures. And that super secret password is? Thank you. It is not. Oh my gosh. Alibaba and the 40 Thieves. It was open sesame. Thank you. Open sesame. Oh my gosh, I'm now a little worried because the next one, here's the next one. I thought I set us up for the next one. I thought that was going to be the open sesame. Anyway, so good manners teaches us that the super secret password for receiving is thank you. No, it's not thank you. Please. Your mother would be so proud. Two for two, but in the rearview mirror, you're going to be so grateful because you've given us joy and laughter. So seriously, let's get serious about spirituality. In the Hindu tradition, gratitude is an avenue for inner peace, for contentment, for living a more joy-filled, satisfied life. Now, the Hindus have a mudra, which is a body posture, that has become a universal not super secret, but it's a super secret password unless you know what the mudra is. Do you know what the Hindu mudra is for grateful? Oh, thank you. It's this. It's become universal somebody goes like this, you're like, yes, I feel grateful too. Or, wow, you feel grateful. I'm looking for it, right? But this is what it is. So does anyone know what the Sanskrit name for this mudra is? This is like bonus points. Anjali. Anjali. It's Anjali. But that was your second guess. Miriam's 2 for 2. Somebody keeping score? Okay. All right. In the Buddhist tradition, gratitude is used as a spiritual practice in order to become a state of mindfulness and compassion and integrity. When your outside matches your inside, that the Buddhists use gratitude as a spiritual practice to come into that alignment. And when I think about coming home in consciousness, isn't it delicious to think about coming home to a consciousness of mindfulness, compassion, and integrity? The first peoples of this land that we now live in, the Native Americans, taught us that gratitude is a way to become balanced and in harmony with the things that are most important to us, with the nature that we live in and with our Creator. The Native also taught us that gratitude is not a one-time event, but it's a way of, and it's a practice of recognizing that everything that has come before us is a blessing. It's something to be grateful for. So Jacob, if you could turn to the slide with the Myrtle Fillmore quote. You do not have to wait for all conditions to be perfect before giving thanks. We just heard that in Janice Stanfield's song. Gratitude opens the way for increase. So this was Myrtle Fillmore's way of saying, don't wait for everything to be perfect in the present moment. Use everything that's come with us from the past to generate that feeling, that open heart, that gratefulness, to generate that so that we can be open to see all of these things. And why? Because number one, what we appreciate appreciates. This is spiritual law. It's the law of mind action. What we think about increases. What we think about, we bring about. Number two, gratitude transforms our perception. It helps us look back on circumstances and experiences that we had and say, wow, I've never thought about it from that perspective. It helps us see those unseen gifts. If you think about an oyster producing a pearl, that pearl began as a grain of sand, as an irritant. An irritant, and this is an opportunity to say, wow, irritants are good. And if you can't get there, please do not go to the people who are irritating you in life and say, I can't wait for you to become a pearl, right? It's about opening our perspective. It's not about changing the past. It's not about changing the other person. It's about changing how we see it. Because when we can change how we see it, then we can begin, even if it's bit by bit, grain of sand by grain of sand, to see the good that's already present. And then number three is a grateful heart. A grateful heart. How many hearts are there? A grateful heart radiates good. And this comes from the spiritual truth that what we radiate, we attract. What we radiate, we attract. And that's certainly true in the collective. But if it begins with us as an individual, what I radiate, I attract. Let's do it together. What I radiate, I attract. Yeah, watch out. She's getting wild. Miss 2 for 2 over here. What I radiate. Yeah, we are, but be mindful of your neighbor because this community has really grown. It's very exciting. Very exciting. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story about a man named Kevin. Kevin's 66 years old. He lives in Seattle. He lives in an apartment building on the 3rd floor. And at the time this story takes place, it had been raining for weeks and weeks and weeks. It was the kind of rain that consumed your consciousness to the point where you can't even remember what it's like to be sunny outside. Totally foreign to us in Arizona, but if you've lived anywhere else, you can kind of begin to imagine. So Kevin, when he retired, he retired from being a printer repair person. And so his life went from being full of noise with the humming of machinery and the chattering of people to being in his 3rd floor apartment, walking down the hall where people might say hello, but they rarely looked you in the eye. Very quiet, the kind of quiet where you can hear the radiator tick, 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 and your own thoughts come one by one. So one Tuesday morning, Kevin walked into the entryway of the apartment building, and there on the bulletin board, which was very old and faded feeling, it had notices about lost cats, about garage sales and eviction notices. He took a look at that, and there he stood dripping water in the lobby, and he realized that bulletin board had nothing happy on it or about it. So he reached into his pocket, took out an index card, and he wrote a note, and he stuck it on the bulletin board. And this is what the note said. Not that, the next one. Write one good thing that happened today. No names, just one sentence. And he stuck it up there with tape before he could change his mind, because he was worried that people would all of a sudden recognize that he was the lonely old man in the 3rd floor, or that maybe he was a little bit crazy. So he found all these reasons to go in and out the front door. And for the next 3 days, his car did nothing but flap in the draft that was created every time the front door opened. And then Thursday night, he came through, and there was this note. My son called. He is staying sober. Kevin read it 5 times. He stood there. His heart was beating so fast because he recognized that there was somebody out there who was also hurting, but also hoping. So over the next few days, a couple more notes appeared. This one says, my neighbor brought me soup I did not ask. And the next one said, found $20 in my coat pocket. Feels like a gift. And things began to shift even just a tiny bit. People stopped to read the bulletin board. People looked at people, others just a tiny bit different. Then there was this note, patient held my hand, said thank you, like she meant it. And then a teenager put up this one, Mom did not yell at me when I burnt dinner. We think it's real. And then one Friday, this single line appeared. I did not cry in the shower today. So the gray outside hadn't changed, but little lights in the gray began to appear. They began to appear because someone took the opportunity to have positive reflection, to recognize that They were, when they looked back at their day, just a teeny tiny bit grateful. So Mrs. Gamble from 2C started to nod at other people when they walked by. And in the elevator, people would actually release their fixation from looking at the numbers and breathe differently. Even the young couple who lived there, instead of saying nothing, would walk by and say, "Really bad weather," right? And Kevin had the opportunity to give one of his extra umbrellas to the woman who lived in 5C. And then Mr. Henderson, who was the building manager, took Kevin's card down. He did it in a very nice way, and he said, "I'm sorry, Kevin. Rules are rules. No posting without permission." And all of the notes disappeared. The bulletin board went back to lost cat notices, garage sales, and eviction notices. The hallways felt a little colder. And then one day, Kevin was coming back from taking out his recycling, and on his apartment door, there was a yellow sticky that said, "Your umbrella saved me," from your neighbor in 5C. And underneath that was another note tape that said, "My chemo was not so bad today." And this started an explosion of notes all around the apartment complex, on the mailboxes, on the elevator buttons, under people's windshield wipers. There were notes everywhere. So you know Mr. Henderson had to come and talk to Kevin because they were everywhere. And as Mr. Henderson approached Kevin, he had a clipboard, and on his clipboard, he looked down. There's another note I think I meant to share. Got a job interview tomorrow, fingers crossed. But anyway, on Mr. Henderson's clipboard, there was this note. "Thanks for fixing my sink, Mr. H. It means a lot." So here comes Mr. Henderson, loaded for bear, and he reads the note, and his eyes get shiny, and he has to clear his throat. And he says, "Okay, Kevin, enough is enough. Just this bulletin board. This bulletin board only, and no names." So did that mean they all started hugging each other and throwing parties? No, it really didn't. It really didn't. But life in that apartment building was different. It didn't change the world, but it changed their world. So this is what the practice, the discipline of looking in our rear view mirror. What's one thing that happened in your day, in your week, or in the last 20 years, except for you? How old are you? 12. In your last 12 years. What's one good thing? And then write that down. They're simple words on paper. They're simple thoughts in our minds. But it's a practice that not only changes the world we live in, our world, but it changes our lives. It opens us up for increase and allows us to move forward with grace. So here's our affirmation that I want to have us share. I bless the journey behind me and walk forward with grace. So let's say that together. I bless the journey behind me and walk forward with grace. Let's take that into meditation. I do bless the journey behind me. For all the obstacles overcome, for all the hurdles leapt over, for all the issues resolved, for all the smiles, all the hugs, all the glances that have reminded us that we are the object of love's energy emanating from the heart, wanting nothing but the best for us. With a breath, lay everything else down. If God has the capacity, then we do too. If God is able, we are too. So in this sacred silence, find one good thing and hold that in your heart. We move forward with the grace that is ours to be, to embody, to emanate, to shine. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen.